As I said in the previous video, Better Vocabulary for Lightworkers and Chosen Ones, human culture is the very biggest problem in this world today, and everybody in this world is highly attached to their culture. Worldwide human culture is, through no fault of its own, the culture of best guesses, and all of its subcultures represent its many and varied best guesses. The reason that human culture should have come to be the absolutely most terrible and awful thing in this world that it has come to be is nothing more sinister than that its best guess is wrong. When we do not know the foundational truth about a thing, all that is left for us to do is take our best guess. And this is something we cannot be blamed for. And we shouldn't blame ourselves for it. We have done the best we can. So please, let's respect ourselves for that. It is in respecting ourselves for that we may relax and bring ourselves to consider alternatives to our best guesses so far. So what are the best guesses at foundational truth of human culture so far? It may seem that there are many, but really, truthfully, human culture has one best guess about reality that is polarized into two options. The best guess we have made about the truth of our existence is that we humans are the product of something that is bigger and greater than ourselves. And who shall blame any of us for assuming this? The two polarized options that represent this best guess of ours are the scientific option, that we are the result of blind energetic forces, and the spiritual option, that we are the creation of a divine intelligence. These two options may seem to be worlds apart from each other, yet both of them place us as the outcome of something that is bigger and greater than ourselves. This is how it is that they are the two polarized options of the one same best guess. If we are to forgive ourselves for making a mistake, relax, and open ourselves to considering an alternative to the single best guess we have made so far. Well, what possible alternative can there be to us being the outcome of something that is bigger and greater than ourselves? Well, the only alternative to this best guess would be that we are not the outcome of something that is bigger and greater than ourselves, which would mean that we could only be the outcome of something that is ourselves. And this does turn out to make perfect sense. After an entire world history of human culture's best but incorrect best guess. This is inevitably going to feel non-intuitive to us, but it does make perfect sense. Whatever it is that we care to consider in any given discussion can only ever be the outcome of the truths that make it so. The logic of this is unassailable. If a thing is real, then it is true that it is real. And if it is not true that it is real, then it is not real. There can be no separation between the truth of a thing and the thing itself. How shall there be? A thing is real and true because the truths that make it so are present and in effect. If the truths that make a thing real and true are not present and in effect, then the thing itself is not present and in effect, and is, therefore, not real. As I say, the logic of this is unassailable. So, where human culture's best but incorrect best guess is that the source of all things is either a divine intelligence or blind energetic forces, the source of all things is, and can only be, the truth of those things. Lightworkers, if you are going to refer to source, as in the source of all things, it is good, it is very good, for you to understand that source is not an ineffable thing that we can name God. Source is truth. To know and understand that source is truth is to be clear and correct, rather than to be using a cultural best guess that is plain old wrong. If you are a light worker who uses the word God, I strongly encourage you to switch that word out with the word truth. Truth is just a better word for what you are talking about. It is free from cultural interpretation, and it is accurate. So let's take a look at some other ways in which I like to use language differently. So, existence is truth in iteration. All of existence is this. And yet, we experience it as a whole bunch of individuated parts. The reason for this is because within the three spatial dimensions and across time, all iteration of truth is iterating relative to itself and has to take all the rest of itself into account in its own iterations. So, for example, as a human being in iteration, you can't help but be affected by the truth that is currently iterating within you and the truth that is currently iterating around you. I describe this as self-differentiation of the field. The living unified field of eternal truth in iteration, which is all that is entirely seamlessly one with itself. But all parts of it are sensitive to all the rest of it that are iterating closely enough and at a comparable scale. As all existence has the one same shared past, it is all emergent from the one same shared source. So effectively, all existence has the one same shared soul. And within that, each part of the field has its own unique pathway that is its own unique past. Your soul is your history, which is your connection to our shared past. So all existence has one soul, and your soul is your part in that. Your self is your soul's current manifestation, current iteration. Yourself is the manifestation of your past. When people talk of selling or losing your soul, this is essentially a metaphor for selling or losing one's connection with truth, because soul is nothing more than truth in iteration. It's literally impossible to really lose connection with your soul, but you can become unconscious of it. The devil is a metaphor for the lie, and sell one's soul to the devil means only to buy into a lie, to sell yourself, which is the iteration of truth, out to a lie. It is one of the great ironies of human culture that this is exactly what religions demand. And yes, it is in pointing out such truths as this that I get myself into so much trouble. There is one great soul, the soul of all existence, and this soul is self-differentiated throughout time and space. This is what duality means. The one soul perceives itself as many parts, infinite parts. We standard human beings are the eternal. We each have a soul, and we each have a self, and we each have a higher self. Our soul is the living past we are emergent from. Our self is the current manifestation of that living past, while our higher self is those parts of us that extend into the living unified field at a higher scale of iteration than our physical senses can perceive. Those parts of us that can see further than ourselves can see, and so can see more clearly what our future is potentially bringing us better than we can see. When people talk of communicating with the Most High, they are generally referring to their connection to the divine, to God. In truth, they are in communication with their higher self. We are one with the field, and the field is one with us. And we can receive valuable information from both our soul and our higher self. And this can feel at times quite miraculous. But really, this only feels miraculous to us because human culture tells us that we are less than we are. I recommend to all of us that we develop good working relationships with our own body, our own soul, our own higher self. And the first port of call in all of this is to develop a good relationship with our own self. For me to tell you that you need to learn how to be a good friend to yourself may sound, to some of you, like a weak platitude, while to some of you it may sound like I'm suggesting the outright impossible. Human culture has not been and is not kind to us, not to any of us. But each of us is going to be with our own self for all eternity. And this is why developing a true and real friendship with our own self, a friendship that can be enjoyed and relied upon, is just about the most vital thing any child or adult can be taught. A thing to be taught before all other things. So these are some of the ways in which I use language differently to human culture. As I've said before, it is not human culture's fault that it is the very most terrible and awful thing in the whole wide world. But it is the truth. And it is ever so important that we not be shy about recognizing and admitting this to ourselves and each other. The language use of human culture is a spell work, literally a spell work that perpetuates what human culture says is so. That we are small, fleeting, vulnerable, and very much should be afraid. And in using this language, when we talk to ourselves and when we talk to each other, we perpetuate the spell. I have a lot of work online that people don't get to see because they are not notified about it. You have to be determined and proactive and check in on my channels and my website if you want to keep up with my work. This platform will let you think that I'm not doing anything when I'm doing lots. And I'd love it if you would catch up with everything I've done so far, if you want to.